Բարև ձեզ հարգելի բարեկամներ, Սփյուռքի ձայնը հեռուստահանդեսը դարձյալ ձեզ հետ է։ Այսօր մեր հաղորդումը ուզում եմ սկսել ձեզ ներկայացնելով հայ-ավետարանչական ընկերակցության Նյու Ջերսիի եկեղեցում տեղի ունեցած ձեռնարկը Hrant Güzeliani Պորսո պատանեկան տունը գրքի անգլերեն թարգմանության ներկայացման մասին մեր պատրաստած ակնարկը։
As part of activities dedicated to the Centennial of the Armenian Genocide, the Armenian Missionary Association of America launched the recently published English version of Hrant Güzelian's book, The Youth Home of Istanbul, a story of remnants' homecoming. The event took place at the Armenian Presbyterian Church in Paramus, New Jersey. Güzelian founded the Youth Home of Istanbul in a basement of Armenian Evangelical Church of Gedik Pasha and dedicated his life to searching and rescuing hundreds of Islamized Armenian youth living in historic Armenia, including Hrant and Rakel Dink. He was a fearless hero who searched for and rescued hundreds of Armenian youth left without family, churches, or schools in the decades following the genocide. He had resolve and strong faith that his mission was essential. He knew that this was an existential struggle against Turkish authority, appropriating, insulting, and depriving Armenians from their basic rights, the language, faith, and culture. For his act of charity in 1981, the Turkish government arrested, tortured, and detained Güzelian for months, until charities supporting the youth home succeeded in putting international pressure on Turkish government to release him. The state seized the Armenian youth home from Gedik Pasha Armenian Protestant Church Foundation in 1987, after decree by Turkish court. The state later gave the land to a previous owner on the basis of 1936 declaration. The evening opened with remarks by Peter Kougasian, Assistant District Attorney for County of New York, as a Master of Ceremonies. Mr. Kougasian spoke about the work done by the Armenian Missionary Association of America worldwide. After his remarks, Reverend Berj Gulleyan, pastor of Armenian Presbyterian Church of Paramus, shared with the audience Mr. Güzelian biographical facts and his life's work.
I think Hrant Güzelian can teach us immensely through his silence. I would highly encourage you to purchase this book and read it. This is a testimony of a man who stood up for what was right. If a book is going to be written about you after you graduate from this life, what would people write about you today when they write? What would people say? What is the impact that you will make in life that people will remember you with? I think we'll see.
Zaven Khanjian, the executive director and CEO of AMAA, said that he felt an obligation to share the book beyond the Armenian readership.
In a speech at the United Armenian Congregational Church on November 5, 2006, Hrant Dink, the most prominent graduate of the Youth Home of Istanbul and Camp Armen, spoke extensively about the camp and ended his statement on the subject with the following. Meanwhile, as Hrant Dink, I entered the political arena through the media and carried on my struggle against the authorities in Turkey to abolish the undue pressure on the minorities, especially on the Armenians, and restitute all our rights. And I have great hope that one day we will definitely repossess the camp that they took away from us. Definitely. So, what is the story of this camp? Who conceived the idea? Who built it? And why has it turned out to be the symbol of struggle for all minority rights in Turkey yesterday, today, and will continue to be tomorrow until it is returned to its rightful owners?
Events participants also included historian Khatchig Mouradian. Mr. Mouradian spoke about the challenges and dangers Güzelian faced while doing his work. He described the risks and sacrifices that were made to save many Armenian children.
It's about individuals who are against all odds, finding a place in the ground, to shattering it and illuminating around them. And Hrant Güzelian did that in that difficult environment. And the best thing we can do today in the here and now is to learn from that experience and make that our guiding light when we try to look back and look towards Turkey and look forward in our lives.
Making the book available in English carries a large importance, as it will allow scholars, historians, and non-Armenian readers to read Güzelian's eyewitness account of cultural destruction in Western Armenia, encounters with Turkish officials bent on denial and oppression, and conviction and action in countering the existential threat, and above all, to celebrate the life of Hrant Güzelian, an unsung Armenian evangelical hero.
Well, we had a wonderful event tonight. I think everybody who came here, they really benefited from it. And I think what I took away from it is that Hrant Güzelian was just a normal guy. You know, he was not a PhD guy. He didn't go to Cambridge and study about genocides. He had a passion, and more importantly, he had a passion to see people come back to their roots. And he did a very difficult job. He was a very simple man. And even in that simplicity, what we find is that, you know, God can empower people, simple people, to do the impossible. And I think people were really impacted by that, you know, anyone could be a Hrant Güzelian, anyone who could be a Hrant Dink. And sometimes we think about important people as people that, you know, you must be from a certain family, from a certain clan, or have certain education. But God can use anyone who wants to seek justice.
This event was part of an ongoing series of events and projects sponsored by the Armenian Missionary Association of America for the Centennial of the Armenian Genocide. A lot of thought was given to how we as an organization can have our own impact. And I think it's really so far had two really important aspects. One is an evening like tonight where we discuss a very important chapter of Armenian history that many of us knew literally nothing about. And I will say, I was one of those. Before I read this book, I knew nothing about the Youth Home and Camp Armen. And it's a very important part of our history because I think, you know, as an Armenian American, it conveys to me how much is at stake in our identity as Armenian Christians.
Decades later today, his work still resonates. There are hundreds upon hundreds of individuals who are rediscovering their Armenian heritage and in different ways trying to reconnect with their ancestry. And in Istanbul itself recently, the camp that was confiscated has become one of these gravitational points where that has galvanized the Armenian youth who are demanding its return, and it's been close to 40 days now that they've been gathering there and demonstrating and demanding the return of the camp to its rightful Armenian owners. So in that sense, Hrant Güzelian's legacy is significant because it created the groundwork upon which today many across Turkey are not only on the one hand rediscovering their heritage and on the other asserting their rights in Istanbul.
Today is another symbol of our support and our brotherly unison and support of the youth of North Zartung, all the graduates of Camp Arev, the students of Hrant Güzelian, the peers of Hrant Dink, to show our solidarity and support to them and say we are with you until we get the rights back, we get this camp back, it is returned to the Armenian community, Armenian church, and that we continue on the legacy of Hrant Güzelian.
The heroic fight to preserve and save Camp Armen and Armenian Youth Home that has begun with Hrant Güzelian and continued with Hrant Dink is far from over, as the new generation of young Armenians living in Turkey continue to carry on the torch of justice. Recently, they have organized large demonstrations in Istanbul demanding from Turkish government return of all illegally confiscated properties back to Armenian community.